think it's a very basic kind of a innate expression of wanting to discover, and wanting to know the unknown, because that is how I guess the human race has evolved. So travel would be almost a human right, I think. I grew up mainly in Delhi, I would think, though Dad was in the army, so we got posted around a lot of parts of India. I think I remember having a tree house made by my father and mother when I was in my early teens. So when I used to, go off in the sort of forest areas, carrying an army knife or something, and pretending I was, trying to look for big animals, etc. So yeah, there's always that desire to go in the sort of unknown, and certainly a longing for travel. I mean, I think that was huge. I unfortunately tended to do slightly well in my undergrad days, so parents had great expectations. In fact, at one point, I think the joke was that I thought that the studies were coming in the way of my expeditions. I think the defining moment was really when I took a year off after college and I traveled to Europe. Went to North Wales and Scotland, and I did a lot of climbing in the Alps, and I knew that I wanted this lifestyle. My genuine first mountain in the Himalaya was in Ladakh and Zanskar. It's called Z1. I'd been on a few expeditions before, but I'd never actually stood on a summit. I went with the Japanese, and you can see I'm sitting at base camp. Here we are on the top, and it was absolutely staggeringly beautiful and a very satisfying first ascent of a mountain. Here I'm in Italy. This is in Germany, and doing some ice climbing in Scotland. But I think one of the bigger ones for me was the expedition to Mount Meru, and there we were sort of trying to push boundaries, and we climbed this Meru North summit. So we climbed along the rock wall, and we were almost going to miss the summit, but we fell short because of bad snow conditions. We were lucky the next morning you could make the summit and then come down. So that's kind of been one of the really nice climbs, and funnily it's never had a repeat by an Indian expedition. But it was just also making a point in those days that, we should and we can climb hard. You really never conquer a mountain. You're just allowed to go there and climb it. So you have to approach the entire concept of wilderness with humility. Basically, when I got into the tourism world, I started to realize that if we didn't look after our wilderness in our operations, that would not be a sustainable and a responsible thing to do. Well, Ibex Expeditions came to be around in 1979. We love travel ourselves. We love discovering different parts of the world. And we thought, what a wonderful idea, we could bring that to a lot of our friends and customers. One whimsical thought was that if you didn't know the capital of a country, we'd go there. And I think the focus is also on giving very immersive journeys. So we now offer something as diverse as a literary tour, down to culinary journeys, and down to things like archaeology or special interest. Now I've got my stuff out for a kind of a setup which allows me to do most of the adventure travel. So I start with a trusty old Ibex Expeditions t-shirt, Napa Piri trouser, and a lightweight trekking trouser. The buzz-off shirt. It's interesting that it still, repels a lot of the bugs. A webbing belt, my gaiters, and of course a cap, trekking sandals. Then I have my trusty Nicobar toilet kits. Then I wouldn't carry all the knives, but I would choose from them a folding bucket, a carabiner with a short sling. Finally, a little tricolor in case you're in a situation where it warrants to wave this. One is lucky to just be able to do or follow a passion and not really have the burden of calling it a job. Well, I would love to get to places like Greenland and Iceland, and there are lots of parts of Africa we haven't been to, and the planet is just an amazing place. Also, when you travel and do expeditions, you make friendships for life, and I really value those, because I think sometimes when we are in our city culture, we tend to put a lot of masks, and when you're out with friends and expeditioners or travelers, I think all that disappears, and there's so much that you learn from each other. So there's a lot to be thankful for. Well, I think there's no doubt that travel is a great communicator and a great vehicle for sort of world peace at a very broad and macro level, because obviously it opens so many windows in your mind, and it allows people to have all their prejudices and biases to hopefully dissipate. My favorite Dalai Lama quote is that in the end only three things matter: how gently you lived, how much you loved, and how gracefully you let go of things not meant for you.